Boris Johnson has been knowingly misleading us. My name's Mike Cashman, the channel is Britannia Waves the Rules. Please subscribe, share with your friends if you find the videos interesting. Boris Johnson has been knowingly misleading us. Now, I know there's a House of Commons Standards and Privileges Committee, chaired by Harriet Harman, that's looking into the question of whether it can be proved that he knowingly misled Parliament. But let's look at some of the things that he's said. You see, Norman Lamont, Lord Lamont of Lerwick, on BBC Radio 4 Any Questions on Friday, 25th of June, said we shouldn't be saying that politicians are lying, that criticism damages all politicians and reduces trust in them. I tweeted, here's the thing, Lord Lamont, when they stop lying, then we'll stop saying that they're lying. And 1,000+ people picked up on that. But Norman Lamont was picking a particular statement with plausible deniability. So the statement was from the Prime Minister that I was assured that the rules were followed at all times. So he's not saying anything about the parties themselves. He's talking about some assurance that an unnamed person of unknown authority has given to him. And it's very hard to prove that such an assurance wasn't given. But let's look at Boris Johnson's reaction to the Allegra Stratton video that was leaked and Allegra Stratton's resignation, because he said he was sickened to see that people were joking about describing a wine and cheese party that was not socially distanced as a business meeting. But that's exactly what he had been doing for that and other occasions. I just want to read a little bit from the Sue Gray report concerning that party, which apparently was not a party because there were no parties. So the original invitation was to a wine and cheese evening. The Sue Gray report on page 31 says that the heading was changed to end of year meeting with wine and cheese. And some work did go on as part of the gathering there. But just as the evening progressed, at approximately 19:45 that evening, a panic alarm button was accidentally triggered by a member of staff. The custodians on duty responded, as did one of the police officers on number 10 door duty. They observed a large number of people in the area outside of the main press office and one individual giving a speech. Inside the press office, a further 15 to 20 people were present. There was food and alcohol available, which had been bought and brought in by staff. Some members of staff drank excessively. The event was crowded and noisy, such that some people working elsewhere in the number 10 building that evening heard significant levels of noise coming from what they characterised as a party in the press office. A cleaner who attended the room the next morning noted that there had been red wine spilled on one wall and on a number of boxes of photocopier paper. The event lasted for several hours, with varying levels of attendance throughout. Number 10 exit logs show a number of members of staff remaining in the office until after midnight. This was clearly a raucous party. The Prime Minister made statements about it afterwards which implied that he had no knowledge that such a thing had happened. But the whole of number 10 Downing Street knew that it had happened. Everybody who was there at the time, judging by the level of noise. And such information didn't get to the Prime Minister at all. So the approach of, oh, well, I knew nothing, was used much earlier, or for a much earlier event, the Bring Your Own Booze party in the garden of Downing Street in May 2020. And the invitations were sent out by Martin Reynolds, who's subsequently resigned, Boris Johnson's private secretary. Now, the private secretary is not an independent executive. I have been assured by a previous holder of this post, and David Deus, and he said the same thing also on BBC Radio 4, such an invitation would never be sent out by the Prime Minister's secretary on his own initiative. You would expect that it would be sent out with the instruction of the Prime Minister, or certainly at the very least with the permission of the Prime Minister. The private secretary is not somebody who is there to organise parties off his own bat without involving or informing the Prime Minister. And yet, plausible deniability, the Prime Minister has, for that event, declared that he went out to it and he believed implicitly, so that implies nobody said anything about it, but he believed implicitly that it was a work meeting, whereas the invitation made it very clear that it wasn't. So he works consistently on a basis of plausible deniability. He certainly doesn't seek to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. There may be occasions where a Prime Minister can't tell the whole truth for reasons of national security, but in terms of personal ethics, there's no reason why he shouldn't tell us what he knows. He hasn't told us, and judging by the fact that he's only received one fixed penalty notice, he hasn't told the police either about the extent of his participation in some of the other events. It's Tuesday, 5th of July. I was just editing this video to put the titles on, and more information has emerged about Chris Pincher. It's another case of plausible deniability. An initial statement, the Prime Minister was not aware of any specific allegations, which then got turned into was not aware of any serious specific allegations, all of which turns out, in fact, to be lies. The Prime Minister was made aware of the serious, specific allegations. The complaint against Chris Pincher, a complaint, was upheld. So what we were initially told was nonsense, but of course we know that we cannot trust what Boris Johnson says. Boris Johnson is misleading us. That's my opinion. Please feel free to add your own. Thank you.